this contestant's forward form is for the WWE Championship.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome to Around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Albroski. That guy right there is Professor Keith, back with us in visual form. What's up, Keith?
Yeah, the bubble of knowledge is gone.
The bubble
I
has
kind of
been
missed the
bursted,
bubble
so
of knowledge.
the classic Johnny Potters of the world are going to be pissed off, Professor.
That's
But
okay.
joining us,
I live to disappoint the heels.
but joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is the Madam Manager and Mayor of Mexico City.
Mayor, I like that.
Mayor Mary Elizabeth. What's up, Mary?
Hello.
It was a close election, but she pulled it out.
Thank you for having me.
What
was that?
I said it was a close election, but you pulled it out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, we have comments rolling in already right off the onset. David Motorman, big fan of SWO. It's Sunday night as I enjoy my gourmet meal. Compliments of that Denny's Express credit card. Time for all gather to Around the Turnbuckle to enjoy the story of the great Mary Elizabeth. Let's go.
Let's go.
Chris Vant in South Carolina. What's up, Chris?
Hi, Chris.
Up,
I feel
Chris?
like we need to get Dave to introduce all our guests. He's so good at it.
Absolutely. Good evening, David. Big fan of SWO as well. Bob Bushman in the house. Bob.
Hello.
Just checking in to say hi, but
yeah.
my Eagles are on, so I'll check it out later.
That's going on
Absolutely.
in the background.
And can't wait to see you and Tommy Vecs at SWO in Seven Valleys.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and neither can we.
SWO.
So Mary.
Yes.
Let's start at the beginning because we had Tommy on a couple of weeks ago, and he told his story of how he got trained and all that cool stuff. And then towards the end, we mentioned you, and he told us the story of how he met you. So now we get you, and we get to hear your story. So
oh my gosh! And now you get to see if they match up. And
right.
And
so let's start. Let's start at the beginning. What made you fall in love with professional wrestling in the first place? Because the stuff that you do, you obviously love the business. So tell us why you love the business. Where did that come from for you?
So my path into professional wrestling is a little bit different than most people you run into. I suppose most people say, oh, well, when I was a kid, I grew up watching it. Like my dad watched it, what have you. But I didn't know professional wrestling really existed until I was in high school and college, because I was dating someone who really liked wrestling and he would watch wrestling all the time. And I'm like, whatever. But then when I went away to college, I was like all lonely and I wasn't a party girl in college. And so I had like nothing to do because everyone just wanted to party my freshman year. And I missed my ex at the time. And well, now ex, I'm sorry, but boyfriend at the time. And I was like, screw it. I'll just watch some wrestling and we can chat, whatever. I'll give this a shot. And I'm watching it. And this was back in like 2015. I think was my first semester in college. And I'm just
Where did you go to college, by the way?
I went to University of Maryland. So I started off in College Park, and then I went to the Baltimore County campus.
Okay, cool.
But
keep going.
Yes. So where was I? I started watching. And I just loved it because I have this theater background. I've done theater my whole life. I've done musical theater. I've been on the stage. I've just loved acting. And when I started watching this, I realized like I saw all the theatrical components of it. And that's what
Yeah.
really drew me in. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought of it so much as like, oh, this is stupid fake fighting. Like after first watching it. But then like looking at it this way, I was like, it's just theater. It's live stage. It's live performance. And I loved it. And I would just, every weekend when everyone's out partying, I would just be up with my WWE network, eating my Ben and Jerry's, just binging all these videos that I never knew existed. And once I started, I couldn't stop. So my freshman year of college is what got me into it. And then getting into actually like wrestling, like I really didn't, it just kind of happened upon me. Like that same ex just happened to get in connection with someone. And I was like, screw it. I'm a decent actress. I'm fit. Like I love working out. Maybe this is something I could do.
So let's go back to the acting part for just a
Yeah.
second, okay? Because have you had like any experiences like beyond high school, college, like stuff like that? Have you had anything where you pursued that avenue before you made the right hand turn into wrestling?
A little bit, yes. So I not in college, but kind of on the side, like a side gig. I was a music director for community theater. So I did a lot of work in the community with stage productions around there. So I would teach the music, but not only that, I would also be in the productions as well, because usually community theater, sometimes you get big turnout, sometimes you don't. It just really depends. So I would fill in here and there for spots, and I would teach everyone their music and music directing. So it's just been a part of my life inside and outside of schooling before wrestling. Yeah.
So is it safe to say that, you know, given the opportunity, you would pursue either avenue, right? Like you would, you know, you could work on both at the same time. Wrestling allows you to do that because obviously you have to play a character, but at the same time, you've been getting more athletically involved. You know, before when I first heard your name, I first saw you perform, you were pretty much just a manager. And now I've seen a lot more videos of you where all of a sudden you're not only getting physically involved, but I mean, you're doing mixed tag matches and stuff like that. So talk about that, because like, you know, obviously you had to seek some training to get that going, right?
Yes. So I did start a little bit of training in Maryland. I wasn't very happy with where I was getting with that, so I was just doing a little bit of managing back then around Maryland, Pennsylvania. That's how I met Tommy, was managing back then. But then I got in. Tommy is actually the one who introduced me to Krakoa, professional wrestler Krakoa, and his school worked great. And he said, you should really try out for his school. And lo and behold, try out, got in. And originally I did want to pursue just being a professional wrestler solely. Like that's what I wanted, was to be a wrestler, not a manager per se. That's just, I can get into that. So I have a chronic illness. So I have chronic migraines, but it's not like chronic migraines in that it's every once in a while. It's a daily migraine.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, it's something that I battle pain every day. And wrestling, I have my good days and my bad days. You know, you have your really bad pain days where you can't do anything. And then you have your good days where you can get in a really good workout, what have you. So my training was a little bit different. Luckily, training with Krakoa, I was able to kind of take my time, you know. So if I had a really bad flare-up day, I could kind of sit back and just soak it in, or do some drills, but not all the drills, because one bump is enough to send me into a terrible flare-up. So I have to pick and choose my bumps, you know. I'm
Ah,
having a I'm having a really good day, and we're building up for this like if it's a really big storyline, of course I'll bump for that. But I don't want to bump for something that's like not useless, but something that isn't going to matter next show or 2 shows from now or didn't matter the show before. If it doesn't make like the most sense to me, I'm not going to possibly risk getting a migraine for the next week, like a non-functional migraine. But whatever.
No, I agree.
So,
I agree with that 100%. I wish people that didn't have the chronic migraine that just were thinking about it from a career perspective would do that, because we've seen people do that, right? We've seen people do that everywhere, where it's like, oh, I'm going to take this really insane bump, and it's like, okay, but how many people are there? Does it matter? Is there a camera on you? Is there a plan to get this out there that it's going to matter, or is it just like, no, I just really want to take this crazy bump right now and pop the 200 people that are here? It's like, okay, but
teach their
everything,
own.
yeah. And I get it, and I mean, at the end of the day, sure, it's your choice, but I just look at it like, if you're trying to build a career, eventually there's going to come a point where you take that last bump and you just can never take another bump again.
Yeah.
So, like Matt Hardy says, the bump card, make every bump count, make every bump work for you.
Exactly. And that's what I unfortunately have to do. And so I could train very nicely with at Kakoa school because we could pace it, but he moved to Florida, and so training is a little bit different now. So I've kind of taken my step back and said, well, I know I can manage.
right.
And I love managing because acting is how I got into wrestling to begin with. So, and managing is kind of more focused on that acting side of things rather than the athleticism. But that's the cool thing about having that training background is I can take those abilities and be this manager that can do more than just be a voice, but actually be involved in the action. And so that's what I want to do. I want to get more and more involved. And if that means doing like a mixed tag match here and there, I want to do it. But it's just unfortunately something that I can't do at the moment every weekend.
I got some comments here. Andy says, hi, Mary.
Hello.
Chris Vance says, a little bit of Paige resemblance. He's comparing you to Paige. That's nice. Did you like wrestling from a young age? You answered that before.
Yeah.
It was kind of the high school age.
Yes, the late
young.
high school. Yeah, if you count that as a young age, 17, 18.
Greg Thundercat Winners, heck yes. How you guys doing tonight? Greg
Hi,
Thundercat,
Greg.
what's up, Greg?
Hello, Greg.
Greg's from Alabama. We got people from all over the country here watching it tonight, Mary.
That's so cool. Well, welcome. Yeah. It's so nice to be chatting with everyone.
It's awesome.
You guys are my first solo, like real full, like.
Well, we're honored. We're honored that we get to be that. That's awesome. That's cool.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely. And it was Keith and I have had our eye on you and Tommy for a couple of years now. It's just a matter of getting together with you guys and talking to you guys. And once we talked to Tommy, and we interviewed him, I figured we could get you on, and we did. So we appreciate you being here. We absolutely do. And if you don't mind, when we're done at the end, my daughters love you, so they would like to say hi.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so they're downstairs watching live. So big shout out to Liz and Natalia.
Oh my gosh, hi Liz and Natalia. How you doing?
Liz and Natalia.
Yes.
Greg says Mary seems cool, really cool. I hate that you have chronic migraines and that they are better ways than taking bumps to fall to the mat. Yeah. The cool, I didn't know that. I did not know that about you. I mean, I followed you on social media, blah, 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 and stuff like that. I did not know that it was that bad where, you have to pick and choose your bumps, like you said before. I find that interesting that you're even willing to do it at all. And that if I had respect for you already as a talent, but to put your body on even more on the line for us, that's mad respect from me and Keith. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those things with chronic pain. It's like if you're gonna hurt anyway, like you might as well have fun. Like
Right.
Yeah.
And so
pick and
let's
choose.
talk about your wrestling career before you met Tommy, because I think that there's two different things there, where you
Hmm.
started and then you met him, and then you guys have kind of gone side by side since then.
Hmm.
So what talk about what happened before, Tom? Like what did you do? Where did you work? That kind of stuff.
So I first started. I honestly, I can't believe I don't remember like what year or anything I started. But I started training. It must have been after my freshman year of college, like right after that summer, right after I first got into wrestling. I was just ready to dive right in. I started training a little bit. I think it was like maybe once a week, just in Maryland. Unfortunately, it was like an outdoor ring setup, and so that was really hard on my migraines.
Sure.
Um, so because of the heat and everything,
Mhm.
but so I trained a little bit here and there, and I just kind of slowly started easing my way into shows after helping, with ring crew, with my training group, and just kind of like I really can't recall the first my first match I managed. I think it must have been now another ex, now another ex-boyfriend.
Uh,
Um, I was managing him. He was going by, I believe, Nick Salem at the time, and then changed his name to Nick Anarchy.
okay.
And I decided to go by the name of Mary Black. So I started managing him and continued with that for a while. And we worked shows around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland. I was living in Maryland at the time. Um, so I went up to like SWO. I would travel to all the way out to West Virginia, kind of like Ohio border. But
Wow.
that was all like a lot of like very smaller, a lot smaller shows
Mhm.
because I was brand spanking new trying to get on these shows. But SWO was kind of like inner that in between ground where I met all of my like now Pennsylvania wrestling friends from all my like previous Maryland wrestling friends. But yeah, so I was Mary Black. I started off not knowing what I wanted to do with my character. And then I decided, well, if characters are what really got me into wrestling, I'm just going to make a massive character out of myself, And I have a degree in biology. And
Oh,
I thought, let me combine my two interests, or at least try to, and because I love science. And so I decided to do this like mad scientist character. Um, just I had like all these supplies like already around. I had lab coats from all these labs that were already all torn like messy. And I'm like, oh, this would be so cool. And I got all these like leather gloves. I got these torn up lab coats and all these little like flasks and beakers. And I just really we dove all in with that character work just because like that's my favorite part of wrestling is the really storyline driven stuff,
right.
the really
Mhm.
charactery kind of like the vignette type videos where it's like almost like a movie.
Yeah.
And so I
And
was very
I
black.
mean, it's practice for the big dance, right? I mean, if you ever got an audition that you were interested in or you would do, it's the same kind of thing. Like you have all this experience now, making all these videos, making all these vignettes, making all these little scenes. I mean, I got to tell you, I was cracking up at your little Christmas video you put out this year. You got, oh my god! And Gavin, I love that kid. I met him a bunch of times, but
He
at
is
Smash, I got a
incredible.
picture with him at Smash Masters. That was really funny. But that kid is awesome. I love that kid.
He's got so much talent. That kid is going to go places. I
Mhm.
Oh,
just love
he's gonna
watching
go
him.
places. Hell yeah, and he's something else. And kudos to his father for teaching him the old school stuff, right? Because he doesn't dress up as today's stars. He dresses up as the Iron Sheik and
Oh,
the Road Warriors and Bret Hart and whatever. But yeah,
he has so many cool little costumes.
Mhm.
it's awesome, man. Yeah, and I think the first time I ever saw him, he was dressed as the Iron Sheik, giving Tommy the camel clutch. I think.
Yes, that's the first
Yeah.
time I saw
Yeah.
Gavin too. Was he was little chic.
Awesome. So, so then you met Tommy Vecs. We heard
Yeah.
his side of the story. You tell us yours.
Okay. So yes, I was booked on a show in good old Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania. I
Mm-hmm.
made the trek from Maryland. I guess Tommy made his trek from up north in PA.
Yep.
I was booked managing Nick Anarchy with my Mary Black gimmick. And well, actually, so I had apparently met Tommy previously at a prior wrestling show, at an Outbreak show in Hamburg, but I don't remember that.
Right.
Look, it's a little hard being a girl because everybody seems to remember you,
Right.
but there's a million dudes that look exactly the same. And I'm terrible with names, and so there's no way. But so we were booked on the same show, and I'm usually like, back then especially, I like didn't know anybody, so I was like the very quiet one in the locker rooms. I would just kind of keep to myself and just do my makeup by myself. Like that was always my thing, is I would bring my makeup so that way I had an excuse to sit by myself and just do it by myself. So I was doing my makeup by myself, and Tommy also just sits by himself at shows. And so we were just, shooting the shit. We became friends, just hanging out. And he watched my wrestling, the match, and like sent little videos of it, and we just became friends. And my ex and I had our issues, and off he went, and I still had Tommy in my life, and the friendship just kind of grew into a more than friendship.
Yeah, that's how it happens sometimes, but that's a good thing because friends first usually works, right?
And
I mean, I was friends with my wife first before we started dating, so it usually works.
yeah, I mean, it's great because I already had that kind of, I already, like, all the awkwardness out of the way. I already knew him. I already, like, it was just easy. It's just an easy transition, It was just kind of like, hey. Well,
So then you started managing him and started traveling with him.
yeah.
And
So yeah, go ahead.
go ahead, talk about that.
So yes. Right after I graduated college, I decided that was around the time I got into Kakoa's training school in Pennsylvania. So I had just graduated. I had no like job lined up after college, and I'm like, screw it. Now's the time. I'm gonna train for wrestling, like really like hardcore. I'm just gonna dive all in, even though I was already training a little bit beforehand. But this was Kakoa's school now that I'm getting into.
Right.
And so I'm like, screw it. I moved to the Poconos. I'm living with Kakoa. I'm training all the time. And this is when Tommy and I first started like dating.
Mhm.
And so Pennsylvania, that's where Tommy lived. So we would hang out, train all the time. And I would train, and eventually Kakoa ended up moving. Well, this was pandemic. So this was probably about like, I don't know how long before Kakoa moved, between pandemic and Kakoa moving, but that was probably about a year and a half.
Right.
And then when he moved, I was like, screw it. I guess I'm just going to stick to managing right now. And that's what I did. Because before I was kind of gearing up to like make a wrestling like debut.
Mhm.
But then when Kakoa ended up moving, I was like, well, I want to be involved still while I'm searching for another school. And so one that can accommodate me. So I was like, screw it, I'll manage Tommy. He said he was open to it, and I said I was more than open to it too. And it just kind of happened. We were like, screw it, let's
Now-
find out what happens.
Now, I've seen you, like Keith and I have seen you guys as faces, and we've seen you guys as heels. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Which do you prefer?
So if you ask Tommy this question, it's an obvious heel.
Yeah.
Me, I like both for different reasons.
Mhm.
I'd say if I had to like pick a preference, though, it would be heel. Just because it can be it feels almost more interactive, even though that's kind of the opposite of what people say. So like being a face manager, you can get people to cheer by like banging on the mat, what have you. But being a heel manager, I feel like there's fans just yell like directly at you as opposed to yelling to like everyone like, yay, go Tommy. It's like, hey, bad things directly to you. It just feels more interactive and it's more
Right.
fun. Like I have all these like, I don't know, I'm not a mean-spirited person, like actually. And so like being mean is kind of fun. It's kind of like testing my improv abilities, I guess,
Right.
because it's like I have to come up with some witty, snarky remark because I want to. But it is also fun to be face because you get people to like you. I like going out and like and actually being able to be nice with the fans.
Right.
I mean you can be, but like, you know,
Well, you
both
see,
have their pros and cons.
I root for the heels, and the professor usually roots for the faces. But we've seen you as both. But I want to ask the professor now, which one do you prefer out of her? Because which one do you think she feels more natural as?
I think probably she's a little more natural as a heel for, like she said, it's fun to play the bad guy. It's fun to get people angry and be able, and some of the stuff that I've heard heels say is really witty. Like one of my favorites is I read Tracy Smothers saying once somebody was really giving him crap at like an ECW show or something, and at one point during the match he just turns, looks the guy dead in the face and goes, "Hey, I don't come to Burger King and bother you at work. Why are you bothering me?"
So
Some of those remarks.
Yeah.
exactly. So I prefer you as a heel all the time, except for when you're dealing with Big Dust and the Goons.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Because that storyline was awesome. Like I never heard enough about that storyline from the SWO fans. Like over and over and over again, they loved that storyline.
I'm
Did
so glad
you
because
did you enjoy that storyline?
that it was so much fun because we're really good buddies with those guys, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of something goofy that we just thought up, and we were like, what, like, because we wanted to do something with them. We were like, oh, what should we do? We were like, let's do this. Let's just frick around and find out, and SWO luckily is a place where we have that kind of freedom to
Right.
kind of say, hey, we want to do this, and they're like, okay.
Right.
And
They take suggestions, which is awesome.
so they take all our crazy ideas and they're like, yeah, do it. And so we just took these crazy ideas and ran with it. And so it was fun because it was just our nonsense come to life,
Well, I'll tell you what, though, the best part was your father, because I was pretty sure that was your real father. And he,
That was my dad.
yes, and Tommy said in his interview that he had no direction. They didn't tell him what they do. They just said, you're walking your daughter down the aisle. And he looked like he wanted to kill those guys because that's his little girl in there. And, so they had to hold him back. It was awesome.
It was incredible. And this story is 100% true. I told my dad, like, hey, we're doing this if you want to come to the show, because I think this would be hysterical. Big Dust sucks. Yes. Yes, he does. He left me at the altar.
He did.
He's a bad man.
And we just said, all right, you can walk me down the aisle. And you'll walk me, I guess, to the ring, and then I'll just kind of get in by myself, so that way you don't have to get in and you can stay out. And then when I like go running off crying, just chase after me, And then all of a sudden, Big Dust starts spitting his fire at me, and my dad just starts going at it because the crowd's going crazy. Everyone's going crazy, and it just made it so much better. But there was part of me in the moment standing there that's like, I hope my dad's not actually like gonna like try to like get in a fight right now.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
I mean,
I smartened him
but
up.
no.
You shouldn't.
No, he was a real worker. He did exactly like just enough for the moment. Not too much, not too little, just
Right.
enough. And hysterical. Like we literally don't stop talking about it.
and your
comes up all the
reaction
time.
is what sold the whole thing. Your reaction to what Big Dust was saying. I mean, you were in tears, like you were about to fall apart right there in the ring. And that made what he did, what your dad did, even more believable to the fans, because like you just looked like you were about to just fall over and crumble.
I had no clue what he was going to say beforehand in the slightest.
And that's probably a good thing, right? Because you can react to it better, right?
Yeah, like, it's kind of more fun that way.
Yeah. And we've had him on, and man, I tell you what, and Keith, you remember this. He was something else, right? He had just been named PWI 500.
500.
Yeah.
I can't.
So we
believe
got
I'm
him right after that
around
news, and I mean, he's sitting there with smiles, ear to ear smiles the entire time, like I'm king of the universe right now. Nothing you can say can bother me.
What a man!
He's
what
something.
A man that Big Dust is.
He's something else.
We
But
love him.
yeah. So then you've been involved lately with MCW and with AXW. In fact, most recently, AXW this past yesterday, right?
Last
You were
night,
involved in their big event in Hamburg. Tell us about that, because Professor and I missed that one. We couldn't make it.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible turnout. It was unlike I've ever seen that building. The bleachers packed, all four sides were packed. It was awesome. And they did it differently than how shows have been run there all the times I've been there prior. We actually used the locker rooms that are built into the building, and we separated them into a heel and face locker room.
Yes.
How about that?
Love that.
A little old school.
A little old school action. So
that's got to be a Kevin Kelly thing.
Oh, that was absolutely you know that. So that was very cool. I've never experienced something like that. It felt very cool to like, I don't know. I felt like I was like old school wrestler, you know? You're in the heel locker room with all your heel bros, like sitting there, and you make the entrance directly from the locker room in that building.
Awesome.
So there wasn't like a fancy like entryway. You had a separate side for face, separate for heel as they made their way to the ring.
How about that?
That was really cool. And it was so cool. And being a part of the main event was a lot of fun. And just being around such great talents. Like it's so cool being able to work with like Kevin Kelly and all the crew that he brings in, because he brings in like such awesome minds, such awesome wrestlers with all these different backgrounds. It was just an incredible show, and hopefully you'll be able to see it somewhere, because I think.
Oh well, I mean, Keith and I are definitely going to make a show. I mean, we're not. I'm not too far away from Hamburg, and so you know, So I mean, but I knew once they announced it, once like Kevin Kelly announced he was involved and all that stuff, I knew that it was gonna be good. I didn't know it was gonna be as good as what happened last night. You guys, was that one of the bigger crowds you've performed in front of?
I'd say so, yes. Now working with MCW, I have been lucky and have been performing in front of like several hundreds in that aspect, but I believe Kevin Kelly on Twitter today said it was maybe around like 700 people in that building. It was a
awesome.
lot. And it just I love it. The bigger the crowds, the more the crowds grow, like I get nervous obviously when the crowds get bigger, but then going from, I guess, like MCW, now I'm getting used to those bigger crowds. Now it's almost like the bigger the crowds, like the more like excited I get, the more like energized.
Yeah. And they're on Rage TV, right? Aren't they MCW?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Fight TV now.
Oh, see,
Nice.
so
Fight
yeah.
TV.
So I mean, that's only more exposure for you guys too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Fight TV. They're all over YouTube. It's awesome. I
So
love
are
working
you
for
are you
MCW.
have the same kind of goals that Tommy does? Because when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, he was kind of like loving what he does. He loves the business. He's fine. He's happy. He's content. He's got you. You guys are doing great, and everything's rolling for you guys. And you guys are getting more, booked more and things like that. But if he ever does get that shot at AEW or WWE or something like that, he'll take it. And is that the same for you? Are you on board with that? Like, do you want that too?
100%.
Yeah.
Ever since like I was younger, I knew I wanted to be, I guess, a performer in some way. I would sing and dance and write plays. I've always said I wanted to be a performer. I never knew in what aspect. Like in high school, my senior superlative in my yearbook was most likely to be on TV, and I was upset at the time because I was huge into music my senior year of high school, and I wanted to get the one that was like most likely to be like a famous singer or something.
Right.
And I got the TV one, and I'm like, whatever, I'll take it. But now, like looking back at it, I'm like, no, like I just want to entertain the masses. So whether that be, I mean, WWE is obviously that's like
Sure.
the presidency, and
Right.
Right.
and everywhere else is almost like just the little tiny governors. But any type of company like that, I would love to be a part of, just getting out there and entertaining. I love entertaining. But WWE, hey, it's definitely a big goal and requires a lot of work, but I guess that's just something you have to be willing to put in. And my goal is to get my migraines a little bit better under control, and then
Right.
just dive all in, because
Chris Vant wants to know: are you more into managing or wrestling?
now, if you would have asked me this maybe a few years ago, I would have said that I still want to like wrestle. But nowadays I kind of enjoy the managing aspect, and I kind of have taken this as a challenge, because you don't see very many people that are solely managers nowadays that
Right.
are like in WWE or
Yeah,
make
you
it
don't.
as just a manager. But you look back and you see these managers that make their ways up. So I kind of take that as a challenge to maybe, yeah, I do like managing more, and maybe like I will just stick with managing and see if this is something that I could just keep making my way up with, and just see what happens. But if I could wrestle, if in a perfect world,
Mhm.
I would love to wrestle full time 100%. But I've fallen in love with managing too. So I'll just,
In a perfect world, is there somebody that you would love to wrestle one-on-one?
you know,
Either on the independent scene or in WWE.
yeah, I don't see why not. So I get anxious thinking about wrestling, because I think about like the migraine aspect.
Right.
But there's always been like, I've ever since I started training, I've always wanted to work a match with Kakoa's wife, Sammy Pandora. Because I lived with her, and we're very close. We're very, very close. And I trained with her, but she's been pregnant for like the past few years. And so I've never been able to do anything really with her. And so I would at least like, because that would be cool, because she knows my abilities, and my like what I can handle, like how much I can handle. So we could work something and make an awesome story, like the two of us. So I would love to work with her. But if we're talking like big name, big game, like let's see, I've been in love with Rhea Ripley.
Oh yeah.
I really like her style, and just her toughness. I like seeing tough, rough and tough females that are also like pretty in their own way. I don't know. She's very cool.
Yeah, you know, when some fans look at old pictures of her, they can't tell it's her.
No,
you know,
she
like
kind of looks like Charlotte.
Yeah, she got blonde hair, and and it's cool that she realized really early to set herself aside from everybody else and not be that blonde bombshell dancing around with, you know, like everybody and look like just another Charlotte. She had to come up with something, and she did, and she's hit it out of the park, and now she's on TV every damn week.
Yeah.
And you know, former champion and all that. So yeah, that's a great name to pick.
She's awesome.
The praise me practice needs you as a manager. Praise Ace Dallas.
No.
I don't know if anybody could manage Ace Dallas. You know, Ace Dallas would probably argue with whoever tried to manage him.
This is valid.
Yeah,
this is valid. He's a little bit too loud for my taste too. Like Tommy is loud enough.
I mean, I just think about it like, how would you get a word in edgewise over Ace? He would just drown you out.
Praise me.
You know, he's at the Cowboys and Commanders game in Washington.
Is he really? I think I saw that on Facebook today.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. He's at the Commanders game, and last I saw, the Cowboys were losing, but
yeah, that's the last I saw too. That's actually being played right behind the store right now. So we'll see what happens when I open the door. And
no, but I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing at SWO too. The new Heights thing. The new group that's in charge now. It seems like a new, young, fresh group that have a lot of good ideas, a lot of good young ideas. And it's exciting. You know, I'm excited to be a small part of it, as they've chosen me to be a ring announcer now, and so I'm excited to be part of that. And I appreciate Ace Dallas and everybody else involved making those decisions that help me along there. But tell you what. From what I heard, the little bit I hear, the behind the scenes stuff that I hear, the SWO faithful hasn't seen nothing yet in the next couple of months. It's crazy what they have planned to do. It's gonna be fun.
SWO is so much fun, and the crowds there are just the best. Like the faithful, like no crowd can top them. Seriously.
Oh yeah, they're crazy.
Nice little tight knit crowd usually, but like they just.
It's small, it's intimate, but they love it. They love it, and they get behind who they want to cheer, and they boo who they want to boo, and they're loud, they're vocal the whole show. And that helps you guys, just, you know, because if you're out there and you hear crickets, you know, it's like, what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
You know, Chris says being a manager can progress to be a great wrestler. See it all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't want to stop training. You know, I just need to find a place that can kind of, I mean, no other way to put it, but kind of suit my. It is like a disability, you know, something that can accommodate. Because I don't want to be the person that's there. And I'm like, sorry, I don't want to be that person that's like, I gotta sit this one out. And everyone just thinks, oh, who's that jerk? Just like lazy, you know? Like I want to make it sure that it's like a good environment and like a supportive type of environment, you know? Because I've been in other environments where it's like you got to look after your health at the end of the day too, you know? So I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna try to keep pushing. And maybe, who knows, maybe it can become something like a Lana. You know, she managed Rusev for all that time, but then would occasionally do those matches here and there. Like, I would love to do something like that. Put me in a Rumble match. I've done stuff like that. And
the one I go to is like Selena Vega, because everybody thought she was nothing more than a valet, and she ended up being, you know,
oh my gosh,
she won the Queen of the Ring tournament and whatnot. So.
exactly.
You know, it can happen. It's just with you, like now we all understand, and it's great. It's great that you were up front and forward with that. That now we understand that, you know, you have certain things like that you need to take care of, but you
Mhm.
still have, you know, you still have all the. You're still young. Things could happen. Things could change.
Oh
You
yeah, there's
know.
plenty of advances in medicine. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly. I
Right.
see my doctors all the time. We're always trying new and crazy things. So maybe one day like something will flip and like I can train at 100% and you know, but until then I'll do what I can and still keep trying because I would love to and I'm still gonna keep trying.
Now, here's a very important question.
Yes.
Were you a Phillies fan before or after you met Tommy Vecs?
Needs to
Um
know if you jumped the bandwagon.
Or did he
I
make you one?
so he didn't force it upon me.
Mhm.
It kind of just came about. So I being from Baltimore, I like the Orioles just
Mhm.
because I've always kind of liked baseball. I've never been die-hard baseball fan, but
Right.
Tommy is a die-hard baseball fan.
Yes.
Our first date was like our first official date was a Phillies game.
Sure.
And so I had never been. So I was like, screw it. Yeah, let's go. And during the pandemic, he's watching Phillies. And so it's all that's on TV. And I'm hearing all the names. And I'm like, whatever. I do my thing. He does his thing. But I'm hearing all the names. And it's always on the television. So, you know, I'm watching occasionally. I start to remember the names. Eventually, I start like getting more like, oh, I'm enjoying watching this. And then
Mhm.
pandemic stop like the world opens back up, we can actually get back out, so we're like, heck yeah, let's go to all the baseball games. And
Right.
I love going to baseball games, and so I'm like, oh, I love this. And I just got so into it. I just got so into it. And
So
we
quick little story. Quick little story. My wife and I were at a game that you guys were at, and we saw you guys, and I didn't want to bother you and him.
you
Like,
you could
yeah.
have
Well, because I hadn't really officially met either one of you in person yet. I had
okay.
seen you guys wrestle.
Oh,
I had seen you guys wrestle a bunch of times, but I didn't want to go up and say and try to awkwardly introduce myself and say who I was and how
I
I know you
got you.
guys and how I
Yeah.
recognized you guys. But then Tommy said you totally should have, because he would have got way into somebody recognized them in public like that.
Yeah, it would have
So
like inflated his ego like tenfold. 100%.
totally. But yeah, that was 2021 in a game there. But then when we were interviewing him a couple weeks ago, he mentioned that you guys got to go to a World Series game this year.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, we got to go to I think it was a first home game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
Well,
rained out or whatever. Was it rained
yes.
out and you had to go back?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, so we went down, got our rally towels and the like free scarf, got in the stadium and sat there for like 2 hours. We didn't really buy any food. We just bought drinks and we just kind of maybe it was like just an hour, I don't know, for them to say, "All right, leave." But then we go back the next day,
Yeah.
you get another set of rally towels.
There you go.
So, you know, you win some, you lose some. And then,
Mm.
but luckily, I was very lucky. We just entered through like the Phillies website had like the lottery, you know, entered the
Right.
lottery, and we didn't get it the first round, but they're like, oh well, we'll do a second round, and they didn't really send out emails like denial emails for the second
Right.
round. But I got something randomly. I was just at work and I see a little email pop up, and I was like, like hyperventilating.
That's
So
awesome.
that was
I mean,
Tommy's birthday and Christmas gift this year.
yeah, because they were probably not cheap, right?
Oh.
Cheaper than the resale sites
Yeah.
by far.
So that it was a great season, you know. I don't want to talk about the Phillies a lot, but I love the Phillies. I've loved the Phillies
Oh
for
my
longer
gosh.
than you and Tommy have been alive. Um
He is an old
but
bastard.
the Philly, yeah. Yeah, it was a great season. It was unexpected. They were in as the 7th seed, and what they did this season is awesome. And the
Incredible.
moves that they've made since
Yeah.
then, Trey
Yeah.
Turner,
Trey
we have Trey
Turner.
Turner. We got Soto from the Detroit Tigers. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
that was interesting.
now they put themselves up in that talk to go back next year. And so
I'm
here we
ready.
go.
I'm ready for
Let's
next
do it.
season.
Absolutely, let's do it. We won't get into the Ravens too much because I don't want Keith to get all raise his ire. He gets very angry when we talk about the Ravens.
It's a bad day today.
Yeah, today.
Stupid Bengals.
Stupid Bengals.
Curse
Right.
you.
Well, with them, it's always Lamar, right? Because Lamar always gets hurt. Every damn year he gets hurt.
And he's been out, and now they have
that's what happens with him.
Backup in, or no, I don't know, Brown. Yeah.
We're always struggling at quarterback. That's just the history of the franchise. They're always struggling at quarterback.
So, is there anything that you would like to talk about? We only have you for a few more minutes. So, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about or promote?
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot like this.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. No, I don't know. Let's see. Just our upcoming MCW shows. I have, let's see, let me pull up some dates.
They're February 2nd and 3rd, I believe, or 3rd and 4th.
Yes, that first weekend we have 2 MCW shows. SWO will be running this month, right? The January 21st.
The 21st.
21st. So
Seven Valleys.
Yes, unfortunately, SWO faithful. I'm not sure if I will be there or not yet. But we'll update on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we got SWO, we got AXW, should be exciting. That'll be coming up next month. We just had our show yesterday. And otherwise, probably just plug my socials, because I ain't got too many big projects coming up. But I'm trying to build a Twitter and Instagram following, so
well,
so
what
I
are
can
you?
start putting,
What are your IG and Twitter handles?
So my Instagram and Twitter, they're both the same. It's Mary whatever. Literally, it's Mary whatever. Yes.
Yes, Mary whatever.
Yes, because I go through so many different Mary names. My name, I'm Mary Beth. My mother's a Mary. My grandmother's a Mary. My great grandmother's a Mary.
My grandmother was Mary, and my daughter is Elizabeth.
There you go. See?
So there's that.
And then I got the Mary Elizabeth. Like I stuck with that. Like my actual, like we got that. We got just straight Mary. And then when people forget my name, they call me Mary Lou, Mary Ann, Mary Jane,
Mary Ann, Mary Lou.
You know, like all those other. So it's Mary whatever you want to call me. It's Mary
but it's Mary whatever.
It's Mary whatever.
It's Mary whatever is Instagram and Twitter. So follow her, and you'll find out where she's going to be, and most likely where Tommy's going to be. And you can follow him at Tommy Vecs.
Usually at it's Tommy Vecs or not it's Tommy Vecs or at Tommy Vecs or Tommy Vecs 69. Yeah, I'm trying to get into posting some other hobbies outside of wrestling, like possibly like some music stuff. So stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll see. Could be fun.
You feel like recording? Is that what you're saying? You're going to think about recording or writing or what?
Yeah. So I mentioned that I music direct. I've played piano my whole life, and I have an organ and 2 keyboards and several other instruments in my house that I am just itching to do more with, rather than just have them sitting here and me just twinkle on them for fun. So it would be fun, and maybe it would be cool to try to mix it in with some of my characters, like my MCW character, my family with them. The Jacobs family could be fun to do some spooky tunes, I don't know. And a random fun fact from my migraines, I just got Botox in my forehead for my migraines, and now I can do the rock eyebrow thing.
Nice.
Because now this eyebrow doesn't move.
Wow.
Yeah, I think those are my big call outs.
Awesome. Well, Mary, listen, You were a delight, as was Tommy, but you were even more of a delight. I'm going to say that because,
Thank
you know,
you. Yes, we all know that's the truth.
we all know that's the truth. We all know that's the truth. Okay. And the professor and I wish you and Tommy nothing but the best in everything you guys do. You guys are awesome, very talented, very fun to watch, whether your heels, whether your faces, doesn't matter what you guys, and whatever you guys are involved in, it's always very, very entertaining. So no doubt, no matter what you guys want to do, either in professional wrestling, acting, or in your case, singing, whatever you guys end up doing, I'm sure it's going to be very successful. We're going to enjoy every minute of it along the way. And you guys are very more than welcome to come back here anytime you want. If you have anything to promote or anything like that, be my guest. Just hit me up, hit Keith up, whoever, and we'll gladly make that happen for you guys. Meantime, I want everybody to know that next week on Around the Turnbuckle, The Real JT Cage, Part 2. We had a Part 1 for that, Professor. This is Part 2. Next Sunday at 6 o'clock on this same channel, The Real JT Cage. Mary, don't go anywhere because my daughters are itching at the door right now.
Yes, I got to say hey.
Say hi to them, so don't go anywhere. But, Professor, you got any parting gifts?
First, I want to thank you for sharing about your migraines. That's an incredibly personal thing, and that was brave to share that with us. My ex suffers from migraines. I've sat with her a couple of times when they're like really bad and really debilitating. So I've seen firsthand they are no joke. So all the respect in the world to you for, like you said, saying I have chronic pain, but screw it. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to let that stop me. That's great. That's inspiring and brave.
Well, thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. I like raising kind of awareness for invisible disabilities like that.
Yeah, because it really is something that I think most people don't know about. Like, people will flippantly say they have a bad headache and they'll go, I have such a migraine, and they don't realize, like, somebody who really suffers with that, that's not a flippant thing to say. That's not something to take lightly, you know. And then another thing I wanted to share with you, because I know I told Tommy, my little girl, her first wrestling match was a match you and Tommy wrestled. So you helped get her into wrestling.
Which one was it?
It was a 3WA show. I think it was in 2021. I think it was Tommy against Greg before Greg won the title.
Yes.
And she just saw all the high flying they did and whatnot, and you in the corner, and she's like, that was so cool. I really like this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. That makes me so happy.
And my daughter came to watch me. My daughter came to watch me ring announce, and she was into you guys more than anybody. She had to get a T-shirt. She wears it. She wears it as a nightie. Yeah. So
I am so lucky to have. I'm so lucky. Like this is what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Around the Turnbuckle for this week. Our guest was Mary Elizabeth. For the Professor, on the Big Alboski. We'll see you guys next week.
You think you know me?
Oh, yeah. If you smile.